people who are successful and who are rich and who are wealthy do not have this word called risk in their dictionary. Like they do not have the word called impossible in their dictionary, they also never ever use the word risk because there is no risk. Because they assume or they know that there is no risk anywhere around. If you are alive, if you are doing something, if you are trying something new, if you are going into an unexplored area, there's no risk in that. Hello friends, let us talk about this one beautiful word that we all really love so much. That word is risks. I don't know why. And where did this word even come from? It is something like the same word called as impossible. There should have never been this word called impossible. There should have never been this word called risk. And it is not there in most of the people who are successful and who are rich and who are wealthy do not have this word called risk in their dictionary. Like they do not have the word called impossible in their dictionary, they also never ever use the word risk because there is no risk. Because they assume or they know that there is no risk anywhere around. If you are alive, if you are doing something, if you are trying something new, if you are going into an unexplored area, there's no risk in that. Whereas if you meet a poor man or a middle class man, he will always be worried about risks. Talk to him anything new and the first thing that would come from him is, what if this happens? What if this does not? What would happen if this happens? They are always calculating risks. They are always worried about risks. They are always so negative about risk. They are like, what if this happens? Because they are at most of the times thinking about the risks, the negatives, and the loss of something called money. They are not talking about gaining a new experience. They are not talking about having a new learning. When I failed in my first business, I still remember I said to myself that this was the best learning I could have had. This was the best learning I could have had, though it was a little expensive. But I did an MBA. Without having to go to a college, but actually doing it in the business myself, spending my money. Though that was an expensive MBA, but still, yes, I did my MBA. I learned a lot about how to do business, what to do, what not to do, how the other people are, how I should be. I learned a lot when I lost a lot of money in my first business. When I miserably failed in my first business, it actually took me to below the zero levels where I did not have anything left with me. I had just started my career. And that big loss in my career, it was like I would have never been able to get up again. That was that big a loss for me. But as I said there is no risks. There are no risks at all in the world. Well, the biggest risk is if you are not taking risks. Remember when you learned to walk, you took the risk, right? There was a bigger risk in not taking the risk because you'd have never learned to walk. When you go to swim, when you go to learn swimming, there is a bigger risk if you do not learn swimming, because someday if you happen to be in water and you don't know swimming, the bigger risk is that you might die. But if you learn to swim, it might be that you might feel, you might, at times, or you might trip into the water, but still you will be safe. There will be small risks associated when you are learning new things, but it will always help you, it will always save you from the bigger risks. When you are investing your money, you are taking risks. Well, the bigger risk is not investing money, keeping the entire cash at your home or in your bank. What if the bank goes bankrupt? What if your house gets robbed and all the cash goes? So the risk is bigger when you do not invest. Investment is definitely a risk. All the investments, whether it's mutual funds or whatever the safest investment you think is not the safest, but still you invest because you know somewhere that keeping at home is not a safe option. Inflation is the biggest thief. If you keep it at home, your money is going to end up having no value after the next 5-10 years. So you go and invest, you go and take risk. Depending on what your risk appetite is, you invest accordingly, but you do invest. So all of us somewhere understand, all of us since we are kids have taken risks and become what we have become today. And today it is more important for us to understand that we need to stop thinking about doing anything, about doing anything new, about learning anything new. We need to stop thinking what would happen if. I mean to say, we need to stop thinking the negative sides of it. We need to stop thinking the negative aspects of it. And the moment we stop thinking of the negative aspects of it, I still keep doing new things, always. Like recording this video, being a public speaker, getting into marketing, getting into sales, starting my own IT company, being a chartered accountant with an audit firm. I keep doing these new things. I keep learning these new things, and there is always a risk. I have failed a lot of times, but that does not stop me from taking risks. That does not stop me from doing new things, because I know that every time I try to do something, and even if I fail, I had learned something. I had learned how to fail, and I had learned that how not to fail the next time when I do something similar. When I fail, I learn. When you fail, you have to learn. You don't have to bother about the financial loss or about the time loss that has happened. You have to focus on what you learned, what experience you had, so that the next time when you do it, it does not repeat. It does not happen again. And that is the biggest advantage of taking risks. That is the biggest advantage of doing anything new. That is the biggest advantage of going into an unexplored area. So, are you still willing to not take risks? Are you still stopping yourself from doing new things? Are you still stopping your kids from doing new things? Then stop doing that today. If they want to do something new, if they want to explore something new, trust me, let them do that, and you will see how successful they can become. Just because you were not able to do that does not mean they can't do it. Just because you were not able to be a good singer or be a good photographer or whatever you wanted to be, that does not mean they cannot be. Do not stop them. Do not discourage them. Do not demotivate them. Keep boosting them. Keep boosting yourself. Keep boosting them. And you will see one day that you have become successful. They have become successful. And the entire world around you has become successful, because now the world around you changes. Try this out and let me know how the outcome is. And if you have any questions, any queries, feel free to come back to me and I'll help you answer all of those. Until then, have a great and a wonderful evening. Bye-bye from me, Sawan Kumar.